our most interesting draft prospects. And like I said at the beginning, we each came up with 10 players. I whittled them down based on how we ranked them to the top five. And so these are our top five most interesting players. And what we're each going to do is just talk about why they're interesting to us and then say, this is the team I think will be most ideal for them. So we're going to start off first with Travis Hunter. And does it get more interesting than this guy? I mean, a legit dual threat prospect that won the Heisman, amazing talent. I got a lot to say, but Evan, I'm gonna start with your thoughts on him.
So I'm going to preface this with if Travis Hunter is drafted as a cornerback, his dream scenario would be the Bengals. They really
Interesting.
need a cornerback. It's not going to happen.
That's a
And
really
this
big
is why
drop.
it's an absolute dream scenario
They would have to
because
trade up.
exactly. They would have to trade up a lot. They need some help on the defense, but specifically that cornerback position. And if they can fill out their defense, the Bengals are probably the most poised team to win a Super Bowl. So if all of that happens in a magical realm, then he's probably going to be the first person drafted in this class to win a Super Bowl. But it won't happen.
No, that would take a lot to trade up. Cam, what do you think?
See, it's such a hard one because I don't know which one of the top, 10 or even 15 teams are really going to prioritize his talents. He's such a unique talent that he's a top five on both sides of the ball, but I don't know for sure that he is number one on either side either. He is an unbelievable talent, though. I think objectively, just looking, at the draft, I, and this is going to be a crazy one. I think that the 49ers taking him and trying to put him in a Kyle Shanahan style team could be really compelling. What he was able to do with Justek, or however you pronounce the prior fullback,
Hmm.
I think he could be leveraged in a similar manner where he could really be seen on both sides of the ball and really excel on the field in general.
Man, 49ers are going to have to trade up for him too.
Yeah, at
I
11.
think I think Hunter can absolutely play both sides of the ball. That's what makes him most interesting to me. He actually said at the combine that he would rather give up football than be limited to one of those positions only. So you are definitely going to see him suit up on both sides of the ball. Now, saying that, I think he's a lockdown corner and Pro Bowl pretty fast in the NFL. And I think on offense, you're going to see 1 to 3 packages a game where he takes the field. Or, you know, in the number three slot, probably, maybe number two. I don't know that he's a number one. But saying that, the Cleveland Browns think he's a number one because they said they think he's a receiver first. And I actually think he goes number two to Cleveland. But his ideal spot for me is the Giants at three overall because, guys, New York is a town for stars. And Hunter is going to be a star. And imagine him being a lockdown corner for that secondary, which was okay, but not great last year. But then he lines up on offense next to Malik Neighbors, who is an amazing receiver. There would be no pressure on him. And so you could put him out there and he could be locked down on corner and get his touches on offense next to Malik and probably get a lot more touches because Malik would be doubled. But I think the Giants should draft him if he's there.
Can I just preface this?
Yeah.
If Travis Hunter's available, you should probably take him
Yeah.
from almost every team. I can think of very few teams in the top 10 picks that could not use him in one way or another.
I mean, if I were the Titans GM, I would take him. But
Absolutely.
I get why they're going to take the
Ooh,
QB.
that's a take.
I mean, like I said, what have you heard about Cam Ward? You don't even
I've
hear
actually
about him.
heard a lot, and I really like Cam Ward. I mean, the way that he was able to excel in an offense that previously wasn't that great is pretty amazing. And
Right.
Restrepo has never stood off the page. How much have you heard about Restrepo as leading receivers?
I don't
Yeah.
know the way that he sat out when he broke a record that really spoke some volumes. But
I mean, from a
whatever.
Nico supporter, that means a lot.
He sat out in the spring game, not an actual game.
Yeah. I mean, Ward has a ton of talent. I just don't know about him. Let's move on to a guy that we know a lot about. That's Ashton Genty, running back out of Boise State. I think this guy is going to be a star in the league. And do you agree with me? What do you think?
I really like Genty. It really comes down to the talent that he had to face off against in college and how well that is going to translate to the NFL. Defenders are nothing like they were in the Mountain West Conference once you're at this level. For me personally, I hope that he has a very long and great career. He's one of the most agile running backs that we've seen in a long time, and he's really able to come off the ball strong. Uh, I'll be honest, I don't even have an area or place that I'm really anticipating he goes. I don't think he's going to get taken as high as 6.
Cameron, the last part you say he's not going to get taken that high. That's just, I mean, it's almost a foregone conclusion. Is the thing. So, okay, I'll just preface this with because once I get my explanation, it's not going to matter anyways. His dream scenario is to go to the Raiders, where he is probably going to go, because Joey, to your point earlier, you get Brock Bowers over the middle. That receiving game is going to be on point. Brock Bowers set so many records last year for rookies in the tight end space. Brock Bowers is a huge dude that is just running into people and wearing down that defense. If you start running the ball with Ashton Jeanty, you're also going to start wearing down that defense. That is such a good combo that I don't think we've really seen a whole lot of, a tight end running back combo that can really wear down a defense, run out that clock, and just take it the full length of the field, 1 inch at a time. That's a dream scenario for him. He's going to go to the Raiders. I don't know what Cameron is talking about, but yeah, that's a dream scenario.
Look at what Pete Carroll did with Marshawn Lynch. You don't think him and Chip Kelly running that offense can find a way to make Jeanty successful? I mean, the Raiders are such a perfect spot for him. It's unreal.
It's so good.
I would be absolutely shocked. And they, like I said, I think Jacksonville could be a dark horse, but I really think it's the Raiders. And what you guys maybe haven't thought about is Jeanty didn't get a lot of opportunities in the pass game, but he can be in the pass game. I think 1 year he had 43 receptions. Last year he had 23. He's just asked to run the ball so much that there was never an opportunity to throw him the ball. But this guy has allegedly excelled in all of his team meetings and has skyrocketed up the draft board, not for his play in the field, but for how he's handled himself when talking to teams during this draft process. So that says a lot about him and what he knows about the game. I think he's going to be really good. And one more thing about him, the Saquon Barkley effect isn't hurting him. It's definitely helping him. And teams have seen what Saquon Barkley did for the Eagles, and you're going to see a resurgence of the running back in this draft. I don't know in what order or who's going to be drafted where, but you're going to see a resurgence of the running back over the next few years thanks to Saquon Barkley.
I 1,000% agree with you on the running back coming back is like one of the most important positions on the field.
Yeah. And now, granted, Saquon Barkley's one of one. But
not too many guys can do reverse hurdles.
Yeah, he's proven that you can win a Super Bowl with your number one option being a running back. And he was amazing. So let's move on to another guy, Shedeur Sanders. Very interesting guy, being the son of Deion Sanders. You're always going to be interesting. Cam, we'll start with you. What do you think about Shedeur? What makes him interesting to you? And where do you see him fitting in?
Colorado was not a program that has been of any relevance during our lifetimes. I know that there were times back in the early mid-90s where they were reputable, but frankly, I don't remember any of those. Colorado, for him to be as good as he was, and yes, I understand that they didn't go to the playoffs and that they went a couple of 6-6 and then 9-3 over the course of 2 seasons. They were good, and they were primarily good because they had a quarterback that they could trust. And yes, they did have an excellent Travis Hunter playing 2 ways on the field. But at the end of the day, it is going to come down to the skill and the looks that a quarterback is able to make downfield in order to get a receiver open. To use an Alabama reference, Devontae Smith was excellent and won the Heisman. But if we all remember, Mac Jones was also at the ceremony. It takes a quarterback to make those receivers look great.
Yeah.
And the way that Shedeur is able to buy time, the way that he can sit back in the pocket, and the way that he is used to the media always being in his face, I really think will play very well just to any team that takes him. I think it's a mistake that he doesn't go higher, well into the top 10, even top 5. I think there's a good argument for.
What team would be a good fit for him?
If I had to go on a whim and I had the Titans trading down, but the Titans aren't going to take them, I really hope that the Browns do not pick him. For me personally, if he goes as late as the Saints, I'd love to see him go to the Saints. I think that's an excellent pick. I know we already discussed it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would be interesting. And another crazy scenario is, what if the Titans trade down, Cam Ward gets taken off the field, and then the Browns don't pick him? Do the Titans then choose him as the quarterback? There's a couple of unique circumstances there to look at.
Yeah. Evan?
Yeah. Everybody said so much about Colorado and primetime. Nobody has ever really spoken poorly about his players and their talent. Shedeur is the real deal. And I think the Saints, especially if Brock Purdy is going to be out next year, which all signs are starting to point that way, I think that's going to be the best spot for him. If Brock Purdy does play,
Derek Carr.
I'm sorry, Derek Carr.
Derek Carr.
Yeah, I know. I've got him on the brain with another player that we're going to talk about. Sorry, Derek Carr. If Derek Carr does play, then I think you got another year before you even see him on the field, trying to get quote unquote mentored, which I don't think is going to sit well with Shedeur. But with all signs pointing to him not playing, I think Shedeur going to New Orleans is going to be a really, really great spot for him. He's got all the weapons that he needs over there.
And, like we said earlier, New Orleans was bad last year because almost their entire team was injured. I mean, they were playing no-name scrubs at the end of the season. They have a lot of talent, and they have a new coach, and I think he'd be a good fit for them. But one thing you guys didn't mention, Shedeur Sanders is one of the most accurate quarterbacks in college football history. I mean, if you just look at the numbers, it's true. He might be the most accurate. I'm not sure on that, but he was definitely number 1 last year in FBS. He single-handedly kept, the Buffaloes in games that they may have not had business being in with his big plays. There is a lot of concern about his attitude among scouts and front office personnel. And there was a report that came out this past week that some teams view him as arrogant, which isn't necessarily a bad quality for a quarterback, or at least extreme confidence isn't a bad, quality. Arrogance maybe is. Those same scouts also said they have a hard time believing he's a first-round talent. And that's what I was saying earlier. It's a non-zero chance that he doesn't go in the first rounds. But there's a lot of people out there that think he's overhyped. And
there are so many narratives, especially around top-tier talent that does have emotional, any kind of emotion behind them, that it's so unique. I mean, you can go back and look at so many of these guys that ended up getting drafted. We can use Baker Mayfield as an example. He was supposed to be the savior for the Browns. But what a lot of people questioned was his emotion, and that was actually one of the big reasons he was taken. I think it's such a plus when it does work out.
Yeah, and one thing that's weird about Shedeur, he's incredibly athletic, but he's shown almost no interest in getting outside the pocket and being mobile. He's had negative rushing yards in 3 of his 4 seasons, which is incredible. He was sacked a lot, but one of the knocks on him is that he'd rather take a sack than throw the ball away, and we saw that happen a lot. I think the Saints at 9 is a great spot for all the reasons we talked about. You got Alvin Kamara, Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, Taysom Hill. All those guys dealt with injuries last year. If they're back, the Saints could easily win the NFC South and make the playoffs. I think a dark horse is also the Steelers at number 21. But like I said, I think they'll have to trade up to get Shedeur.
Now, can I just say this? I would love to see the Steelers pick him up. I think that would be one of the most entertaining teams ever.
I think
you combine the Steelers. Yeah, you combine the Steelers' defense historically with Shedeur Sanders and his athleticism on the offensive side, and someone to really coach him up to tell him, hey, take a couple of chances, throw the ball out, or try and run it around. I think that would be a really, really good team.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Let's move on to number 4 on our list. Oregon quarterback Dylan Gabriel, who's also played for, it seems like, every other team in the FBS, UCF and Oklahoma too. And this guy's interesting because he's not getting a lot of love, but Evan, statistically, he's the most productive quarterback in college football history.
I think Dylan Gabriel is probably the most underrated player in the draft. He's projected to go second, maybe third round. And I think that is such a big mistake. He's a real pro style quarterback, but he's athletic enough to get it or get out of the pocket. I watched him in enough games last year where the pocket collapsed. People were chasing after him, and he extended the play and made a really big play. Now, for him, there is some growth to be done, but probably not that much. He's a leader in the locker room. His poise is so amazing. And I'm a big Dylan Gabriel fan. The best place for him is probably the 49ers. And this is why I had Brock Purdy on the brain. Because you got Brock Purdy and who else is over there? Oh, Mac
contract year.
And Mac Jones over there. Brock Purdy had a really amazing year with the 49ers. And then he had last year. Mac Jones, let's just be honest, he's Mac Jones. That is the best place for Dylan Gabriel to go because that is the place where he can actually have a chance to fight for a spot. Probably not the starting spot at first, but he can start working his way up a depth chart at the 49ers more than probably any other team. I wouldn't be surprised if he ever got drafted there 2 to 3 years down the line if he was the starting quarterback.
Oh, Brock Purdy, I think he's a really, really good quarterback. You know, you don't lead your team to the Super Bowl or the NFC Championship by not being at least serviceable in some way or another. He's been really good for the most part. I just think fair or not fair, there's that knock on him with being drafted where he was drafted, and that's never going to get out of people's heads. And it's hard to hand this guy $300 million when he was literally passed on by everyone in the league up until the last pick. And there's a part of you that says, is he really that good, or is he good because of the system he's in? That's may totally not be fair to him, but anyways, that's what I think about Brock Purdy. Cameron, what do you got on Dylan?
I think Dylan Gabriel, Evan hit on it, is probably the most draft-ready quarterback that there is. It is crazy to see people expecting him to go in the second or third round and looking at him as a potential reach even for the first or maybe even early second. But I think he's an excellent quarterback. Another thing that we can look at is how Oregon quarterbacks have actually translated to the NFL. We can look at the most recent example being Bo Nix. I think that Oregon style of offense, there's a lot of quick reads. There's a lot of looks around. And then there's the occasional deep shot. It worked out really well for Bo Nix and being able to translate to that next level with the Broncos. I think it could translate really well for another team too. As far as where I think he could end up, one of the teams that I think would be well suited for him, and this sucks to say, is the Miami Dolphins. I think Tua is kind of on the back half, if nothing else due to injury, of what his great career was supposed to be. I think you have to be looking at what the future looks like. And while he may not be quite the same gunslinger that Tua is, I think a lot of the good reads going short, medium, and long range down the field are going to be a lot better coming out of Dylan Gabriel's hands.
Oh, let me read you guys what NFL.com said about Gabriel. They said he is an older and smaller QB prospect, but he offers a tremendous amount of game experience and productivity. And I think that is as simple and as accurate as it gets. FBS record with 188 career touchdowns, 63 career starts at QB. You don't get more experience than that. He is undersized, and we know, fair or not, how much trouble undersized quarterbacks have in this league. Look at Bryce Young. I think Gabriel has elite backup QB written all over him, which is why I think he actually falls to round 4 or 5. And my ideal spot, Kim, like you said, is the Dolphins. They have 2 picks in the 4th round, 2 picks in the 5th round, and they have 11 picks overall. They need an insurance policy for Tua Tagovailoa, who had his 3rd concussion last season. He's had 3 in his career. Now, Tua says he's not giving up on his career. Zach Wilson is the backup there. Zach Wilson doesn't scare anyone. It would be such a low, it would be such a low pressure situation for Gabriel to either sit behind Tua or compete with Zach Wilson for the one spot if Tua gets injured. And you're throwing a Tyreek Hill. Like how great is and Waddle. That's awesome. And it's low risk for the Dolphins because it's a mid-round pick. So I really like the Dolphins for him. So let's move on to our fifth guy. This guy has been hailed as the next great tight end before he's even taken the field. Tyler Warren out of Penn State. Amazing prospect. And he's described by NFL scouts as good as it gets as a prospect at the tight end position. Cam, why don't you start?
I mean, I'm just going to make this easy. What team doesn't want or need a great tight end? I don't think there's a single team that would pass up on that. Sorry?
The Raiders.
Yeah, okay, the Raiders with Bowers. But if we leave them out, hey, imagine
if they drafted him.
Patriots did it. RIP to one of them, but the Patriots did it. Sometimes it can excel. Who knows? Yeah. Maybe at pick number 6, the Raiders end up taking another tight end, and you quite literally can't stop them, and it doesn't matter what running back they draft. See? And now I've resolved the whole Ashton Jeanty issue.
Where do you like Warren going to?
If I was taking my pick, and this is really hard because I don't know that he's going to make it past the top 10. I think the Bears could be a compelling option. Try and give Caleb Williams an option to go down the field. I mean, really, I think that's the best advice I have.
I actually really like the Bears for that. That's not my pick, but I think that's a really good pick. Tyler Warren, he averaged almost 12 yards a catch last year for over 1,200 yards. Now, the one team that just got rid of their Hall of Famer at some point, tight end, Evan Ingram, is the Jaguars. They've got to have a really good tight end come in. It's a team that knows how to use that position the way that Tyler Warren needs to be used. Mm-hmm. So I think that's an optimal landing spot for him because coaches know how to use it. You got Trevor Lawrence in there that knows how to throw to a tight end. And all around, it's just a great team for him.
So Tyler Warren is going to be a great prospect. You said 1,200 receiving yards. He also had 200 rushing yards, 12 total touchdowns, and he had a passing TD. Is this guy not a Swiss Army knife? I don't know what is. He's not Brock Bowers, but as far as prospects, he's pretty close to Brock Bowers. And let's not forget, he said during the combine that he loves blocking, and he shows he can be above average in that area. So this guy fills pretty much every need. I would love my Panthers to take him at 8. I don't think they will for a reason we're going to explain in the next segment, but 10 to the Bears would be the ideal spot for him. Like you guys said, a target for Caleb Williams alongside DJ Moore, Rome Odunze. Ben Johnson's the new head coach there, and he's an offensive genius. I think he can maximize Warren's potential. I don't think he makes it past the Bears 10. He's going to be good. So those are our 5 most interesting players. I think we did a good job describing those guys. Cam, you found the show compelling. What are you doing?
You're going to like our episode. You're going to comment on what you disagree with because surely you don't agree with everything. And then you're going to subscribe so that you can continue to hear the great decisions that we make on this channel. Thank you.